Okay, hi guys, good morning. I'm just going to give you a quick summary of what I was explaining on Friday, because it got a bit confusing with all the starting and stopping. So we're just going to do a review of the countables and uncountable nouns. So, what I was going to do first was give you the explanation of the words that you can use with countables and uncountables. Okay, so when we use countable nouns, and then so countable nouns we can use with oh hiya, thanks for joining. So countable nouns can use a or an and plural form. Okay, so an apple, 5 apples, whatever you want to say. Okay, then other words that you can use with countable nouns, so you can use many and a few, lots of or a lot of, and loads of, plenty of, okay, and with yeah, so that's what you would use there, so that's fine. So those are the words that you can use with your countables. Okay, so you wouldn't use a bit, for example, with countables. You couldn't say a bit of apples. You could say a bit of an apple, but you'd have to use an to indicate it was one. Whereas you can use a bit with countables, like a bit of milk. So there's some helpful words you can use with those. And then uncountables. Uncountable nouns. we don't use plural, so no plural and no article. Oh, hiya. Okay, so no plural, no article. And instead of using many, we use much. And we can use, so with uncountables we can't use a few. You can't say a few milk. Good morning. How are you? So you can't say, you can't say, what was I saying? You can't say a few with uncountables. So you can say a little, and you can say, again, you can say lots of or a lot of, the same as you can with, you can say plenty of, these ones are all the same, loads of. And with uncountables you can also say a bit of, which you can't say with countables. Is that all of them? I've written a list, so I'm just checking my list today so I don't forget anything. Okay, so they are helpful words you can use with them. And then I actually got a bit more organised. So we were talking quite a lot about food, and so when you're talking about food with uncountables, there's a good way of remembering some things is that if it's like a liquid, a grain or a powder, they're nearly always uncountable. No, they always are uncountable. There aren't any that are countable. So liquids, grains, and when I say grains, like rice, for example, liquids, grains, powders are always uncountable. Okay, but they become when you put them into something. So it's the container that you're counting, not the actual thing. So when they are in a container, they are countable. A container, so like like a glass, a bottle, a packet. They become countable. So you can say a packet of rice, for example. So you can say a packet of rice. And you can say some rice on its own. Okay, but you can't say a rice. So when they go into a container, they become countable. Alright, this is when it gets confusing with food and things like that. So you have to think about how they are. If they are loose and if it's just the product, then it's uncountable. If it's inside something like in a glass or a packet, any container, then it's countable. Alright, so that's quite a useful way of remembering. So for example, if somebody says, I want a coffee, it means I want a cup of coffee, not, so coffee is uncountable. Because coffee, when it's not in a cup, is uncountable. The same with a beer or anything like that, okay? And then other uncountable nouns that can be confusing. So things like feelings. Feelings are uncountable. So such as anger, happiness, sadness, etc. No worries, you're welcome. They are all uncountable. Okay, so that's uncountable. And then ones that people get confused with. So I'm just gonna. There are lists you can get. You can get lists online of all these uncountable ones. So I'm not going to type all of them up because there are too many, and you won't want to read them all anyway. But the ones that I find that students get confused with are confusing uncountables. Are things such as the one that everyone gets wrong, advice. Let me just put a thing there. So advice, information. People always get this wrong. Research. What was the other one? Clothes, or as in clothing. So you can't say I have 5 clothes. You can say I have 5 items of clothing, but you can't have 5 clothes. You can have 5 pairs of trousers. But paper. Paper people always get wrong. You can't have a paper, you can have a piece of paper. Okay, if you ask for a paper, that usually means like a newspaper. So that's uncountable. Hair, as in all the hair on your head, you talk about as being uncountable. Actually, I'll give you an explanation of that after, because that's a confusing one. What were the other ones? Travel. Travel is uncountable. Journeys are countable. Okay. Transport. So again, transport and money and things like that, you can count the number of cars, but transport as a whole is uncountable. Furniture. Furniture you can count. You can say I've got 5 chairs, I've got 2 tables, but I've got lots of furniture. You can't have 5 furnitures. Okay, so you can count. You can say 5 pieces of furniture, but not furnitures. Those ones are common mistakes that I think people make. Let me just check. Oh, and equipment, that's another one. Equipment and evidence. So these ones are sort of common mistakes that people make. So then other things to remember, like, okay, so that was the one I was going to make more explain better. So hair, the hair on your head is uncountable. So if I say I have fair hair, that means we're talking about the hair on your head. It's uncountable, uncountable. Like as in the mass of this hair on your head. So you can't say you can't say she has a blonde hair, because that would mean like I have one hair on my head. Okay, so you say somebody has she, and this is a common mistake as well. People say this all the time. So you say she has brown hair, and you don't say what? Sorry, typing's a bit slow. Not a brown hair. Because when you're talking about it as a whole, like all the hair on your head, you can use hair individually. Like for example, I could say, I found a grey hair in my fringe the other day, meaning one, which is very annoying. I did as well. Very upsetting. And then you can use it individually, like countable. But when you're talking about all your hair, you use it as an uncountable form. You don't use it as a plural form. So I'm talking about it one. So always when you're talking about the whole head of hair, you use it like an uncountable. But when you're talking about an individual thing, but I often find students say she has a brown hair, and then I always draw a picture of somebody with one brown hair to explain that it's wrong. Okay, so you can use it like that. So other ones that are in like groups that are the weather. So types of weather are uncountable. Okay. It's not funny. It's very sad. It's one of those ones and it just does this, and apparently if you pull them out then you get more. It's terrible. So like rain, snow, sunshine, etc. They are all uncountable. Okay. I think I explained last time. Work again. Work is uncountable. Jobs are countable. And somebody asked me a question about what was it? Taste. That was it. So you can use taste. Taste can be countable. It's usually used in singular form, but you can say they have different tastes. So you can have a taste of some food. I'm going to have a taste of your food. Or you can have different tastes, meaning that you like different things. So I didn't ever find the question that was asked, so I'm not sure if that's answering the question that you asked the other day, because I don't know what the question was. But it can be countable. So you can say, can I have a taste of your food, for example? And you can say they have. So whoever asked the question, if this doesn't answer your question, you can ask me on Monday the question that you had, because I'm still just guessing what it was. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. And then the other thing with things like information and advice and such like, you can say a piece of information, and the same with paper as well. So information and advice and knowledge are uncountable, but you can say a piece or a bit of information or advice etc. Knowledge, whatever it is. Okay, so you can use those to make them countable. In that sense, that's sort of the word you would use to help you. And then with paper, yeah, it was paper I was talking about. So you say a piece of paper, or a sheet of paper. Careful with the pronunciation, my students always get that wrong. It's very funny. A sheet of paper. Okay, you can use, if you talk about a paper, like I'm going to the shop to buy a paper, it refers to a newspaper. Okay, so if I say I'm going it means I'm going to buy a newspaper, not one bit of paper, because we don't use it like that. Okay. What other ones were difficult? Time. Time is uncountable. I don't know if I've said that already. Time is uncountable, but obviously time and money. So time is uncountable, but you can say, yeah, hang on. Time as in the thing is uncountable, but hours and minutes are countable. Okay. What other ones are... Oh yeah, this is a confusing one as well. Just trying to remember the ones that... Sleep. So sleep is uncountable, but you will hear people saying things such as you'll hear people saying like 5 sleeps till Christmas or whatever, and so people, it's sort of an expression. It's not grammatically correct, but people do say it. So okay. And it's a thing when people like counting down how many sleeps till Christmas or how many sleeps till their holiday or whatever it is. So you do hear people using this. It is uncountable. It's not necessarily grammatically correct, but people say it. The same with all these things. There are exceptions. Okay. Okay, so then most of the ones that I thought were difficult. Oh yeah, I'll just do the one. So furniture, because everyone always gets this wrong. I know I explained it, but I'll just type it up for you. Furniture is uncountable. So you say 5 pieces of furniture. Okay. For example, so a piece of furniture is the one. Okay, so I think that's a rough summary of what I was talking about on and off on Friday. And hopefully that answers most of your questions. Alright, so if there are any more questions on it when you watch this back, and you're still not sure, then just ask me. You can ask me on Monday, because again, it's not a problem. We will be talking about the doctors, I think, on Monday. But if there's something on this that you're still not sure about, that I haven't made clear, then yeah, just ask me on Monday again to go through it, or post a question on Instagram and I will try and explain it to you then. Okay, but I think that's the main thing. I think the thing with food and... Oh, that was one, sorry, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, so I think I explained last time it's the main thing to remember is that when it's the liquids and the grains and the powders and things like this, when they are uncountable, when you learn that they are uncountable, if you hear them being used as a countable form, it's usually because they are in a packet or in a container, and that's what makes it confusing, okay? So if somebody says a coffee, they mean a cup of coffee. If they say a beer, they mean a glass of beer, okay? So that's the thing to remember, that it's when they go into the container they become countable, and that's where it gets confusing. Or if they get cut individually, like a loaf of bread, and it gets cut, okay, then you have a slice. So you have bread, you have a loaf of bread. Bread on its own is uncountable, a loaf of bread is countable, a slice of bread is countable. Okay, so it's things like that. It's when they get put into a different form. Anyway, I hope that helps, and if you have any questions or anything, just ask me tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday, yeah, so ask me then and I can explain again. Okay, have a good Sunday, take care, bye bye.